Republican Senator John Kennedy, who's on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And Senator, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
So, look, I want to try to look forward here.
Okay.
I think we all know the mess backwards. Senator Collins said she hopes this means we've hit rock bottom. Why am I skeptical that we have?
I'm skeptical, too. I'm afraid that there will, for every action, there's usually an opposite reaction. I hope I'm wrong. I'm afraid that'll happen here. It doesn't have to. I was listening with interest to your panel. I think this process changed dramatically when Mr. Avenatti entered the picture. I think a lot of people, including many of my Democratic colleagues, felt like then at that point we had gotten into the foothills of preposterous. I hope we've learned something from that. But I don't think there were any winners in this. I bet you Judge Kavanaugh doesn't feel like a winner. I bet Dr. Ford and her family don't feel like winners. But in terms of what happens in the future, I don't know, Chuck. That's up to us. You know, will it get better?
Yes, I mean, it is up to you. You're right.
I'd like to think it would get better, but this is a winner-take-all approach up here, and Washington is sort of la-la land. The rest of the country, when everybody's unhappy in Washington, a lot of folks across America are very happy.
Right.
And Washington doesn't understand. It says it does, but a lot of people in Washington don't understand that the rest of America laughs at us. They think this whole place is just dysfunction junction.
You know, Senator, I do really get the feeling that you guys, and I say this both, I think especially those of you representing red states and those of you representing truly blue states, don't understand what the other side is thinking here and don't appreciate. You know what I've noticed, for instance, the president always seems to think that all protesters are paid. And I remember during the Tea Party, the left would say, oh, those protesters are paid. You know what? People are protesting. You know, there are people. We disagree in this country. How do you think you could do better to understand how blue America thinks? And what would you recommend to a blue state senator to understand what your constituents think? Well,
boy, you just made a great point. And I felt the anger of the sexual violence in this country. I think the Me Too movement is a positive force for America. When this broke a year ago, I said, wait, this, I've never seen this kind of sexual violence. I talked to a lot of my friends who happen to be women. They said, what planet did you just parachute in from? It's been going on for decades, and it has, and it's a problem. And this is no country for creepy old men. But it's not a country at all without due process. And if we've learned anything from this process, whether the United States Senate has learned anything or not, what I hope America has learned is that both the accused and the accuser are entitled to be treated with respect and listened to. They should be treated with fairness, and they should be given due process. We tried to do that with Dr. Ford. I regret what happened to Dr. Ford. Her confidentiality was breached. We could have dealt with this another way. She wasn't told that she could testify in front of the Senate investigators in the privacy of her home. It turned into an intergalactic freak show. I feel badly for Judge Kavanaugh. I feel badly for his 13-year-old and his 10-year-old. And America saw this. And America is not impressed, no matter how you feel about the vote. America is not impressed.
You know, 27 years ago, we had the Hill-Thomas hearings. And
I know.
And I thought Anita Hill, when she wrote an op-ed a couple weeks ago, she said something interesting. And she goes, you know, 27 years ago, the Judiciary Committee didn't have a process on how to handle sensitive allegations like this. And here we are 27 years later, and it doesn't even look like an attempt was made. And you look at the United States Senate in general, when we found out there's been secret settlements to staffers and things like that. Who's going to be the senator or the person in charge here to say, you know, we've got corporate America's trying to figure it out. I think college campuses, as Howard Fineman brought up, they have actually focused on trying to figure out how do you deal with allegations like this in a sensitive way, in a private way. Why can't the United States Senate?
Well, we better. and hopefully we've learned something. Look, I've never been a victim of sexual violence, but if I were, I wouldn't go want to broadcast it to the world. I would be torn between, I think, embarrassment and anger. And I think that was Dr. Ford's situation. And she asked for it to be dealt with, but she asked for it to be dealt with politically. And some chucklehead went and leaked her letter for political reasons. I don't know who did it. Does it matter at this point? But it changed this entire process, both for her and for Judge Kavanaugh. And then it was off to the races. It just became smash mouth, in your face, win baby win politics. Now, will we learn anything? Sure, I hope so, Chuck. But I'm a little bit of, I've only been here 22 months, but I'm a little bit of a cynic. I said before today, before I knew how this was going to come out, we've hit bottom and started to dig. And I hope I'm wrong on that, but I'm still trying to understand the way this place, the only thing I know about the way this place works is that the rest of America is embarrassed for us, no matter whether you're from a red state or a blue state. I've said it before, but they look at us and they say, how did you people make it through the birth canal, for God's sakes?
How is it that if we have a series of 51-49 judges, which is, we're going down this road.
And it's not good.
What's the judiciary going to look like in 10 years?
Well, before we started this process, the American people thought the U.S. Supreme Court was just a bunch of mini politicians, just a mini Congress, that the law was just politics practiced another way. Now, I don't think that's the way it is. It's certainly not what our founders intended.
What it's going to look like, that's what I think people do think now.
But perception is reality. And even before this process, they thought that. Now they really think it. And part of the reason is the United States Congress. Because here's what I think is the fundamental problem in America. This is the most powerful, wealthiest country in all of human history. But we've got too many Americans who are not participating in the great wealth of this country. Not economically, not socially, not culturally. And Congress is supposed to address that. But we don't want to make the hard decisions. I hear it every day. I can't take that vote. So they get passed on to the United States Supreme Court. And that's not what our Constitution intended.
I would add civically either. We got to get people to participate more civic as well.
Spiritually,
yes.
We have a lot of people that don't feel part of America. And they're from red states and blue.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Both Senators Schumer and Durbin have said if somehow Democrats win control of the Senate, they would think about restoring the filibuster to 60. What do you think that ultimately that should come back?
I don't know yet. I want to let some time pass after this is over. Then I'm hoping we'll start with the Judiciary Committee. We'll all go out to dinner one night, reds and blues, and we'll start there. Start talking about what we learned, if anything, from this process. I've learned a lot.
Let me know when you have that dinner. I think we'd all like to be eavesdroppers on that.
Will do, Chuck.
Senator John Kennedy.
We'll let you pick up the tab.
Yeah, big. That's what we are good for these days. Fair enough. Senator Kennedy, as always, sir, thanks for coming on and sharing your views.
Thank you, Chuck.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.